Remember, I first ran for the seat in 2018, and I had the privilege of kicking Matt Rinaldi out of office. So, and then I'm in my third term in the Texas House, and it's just been an absolute honor and pleasure to serve. You know, in the Texas legislature, it's a crazy place, and there's a lot of stuff, good and bad, happening there. I am very pleased that, I've been on the front lines of fighting for health care. That's been a signature thing I've worked on because we must pass Medicaid expansion in the state of Texas. That Texas ranks 49th out of 50 for women to access health care in the state. It is completely unacceptable. And one of the reasons why I'm running for Congress is I think we can make a difference at the federal level. Federal law governs 87% of healthcare issues in the state. So if we can make that move and maybe we can get something done at a federal level, because Republicans keep putting roadblocks on for people to get access to appropriate care. And we all need to live healthy, right? Yes. We all need to take care of our parents. We all need to take care of our babies. And we all just need to live a healthiest life we can because we love the people we love. And it's so frustrating when the people we love are sick and can't get the necessary care to stay alive. And that is happening. And so we have a lot to do. I am pleased that I oppose the preemption efforts that are going on in our state that really affects people. I was listening to NPR on the way down here, and they were talking about water breaks for construction workers and how many people are dying because it is so hot. That's unacceptable. The Biden administration is making a national effort to try to have workplace safety for the people who are doing the hardest work, to be able to do it, who are running the engines of our communities safely. They come home every day. When they go to work, they come back home because they have a safe environment to do that. And if I'm in Congress, I'm looking forward to working with the Biden administration to help push those initiatives through so that we can make sure that the people who are building this country from the ground up come home from work every day. Because that's also very, very important. It is exciting times to be a Democrat in Dallas County. Yeah. Why is that? We have awesome leadership, representative of our community. We are fired up. Democrats care, and we can all make a difference together. And I am thrilled to be running for the congressional seat of Congress 32 to replace Colin Allred. Because Colin Allred must beat Ted Cruz.
Yes, he does.
Dallas County will lead the state of Texas. If Dallas County is engaged in our electoral politics and turns out our votes and works hard to reach every single person, we can win the state. What happens here will affect everyone else. And I'm looking forward to having one of the anchor campaigns in this election to help do just that, to help reach 850,000 voters and help turn them out and hopefully turn Texas blue. And it's just an absolute privilege to be here with you today. And so thank you so very much. I look forward to seeing you out on the campaign trail. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for being bold and that is behind. Build it.
Thank you, Julie. Hilda Duarte here over LULAC 4782. Thank you for being bold enough to step into those shoes of Colin Allred. My question is, who's going to step into your shoes when you leave?
Well, that's a great question. We have my dear friend Cass Hernandez here. So, we worked really hard to set a good standard for representing House 115 and the incredible diversity. I have 78 nationalities in my district. My campaign materials are translated into Spanish and many, many other languages.
How many?
78 nationalities in House 115. So we represent, Terry Meza and I represent the most diverse districts in the state. And so, it's great. And so one of the things that we do is really try to make our campaign as accessible to as many different people and meet them where they are. And I have worked really hard, and I'm really committed that with the work we've done in 115, we hand that baton over to somebody who can take it to the next level, and I'm convinced that that's Cass Hernandez.
And also contact information for you for anybody here that wants to join your campaign or donate.
Well, you can follow me on Julie Johnson TX, And we'd love to have you engaged. You know, this campaign cycle, they say we've all been up here, right? Every single time, oh, this is the most important election of our life. Every cycle is always the most important election of our life. But that's because it is. And that's because it doesn't ever change, because the stakes, these Republicans go to places that are beyond the pale of what we think is appropriate. They take it to levels that none of us ever thought they would take it to. I mean, ever. I mean, who would ever think that we are where we are right now? And so it is with our democracy under attack, the integrity of our elections under attack, the concept of what it means to be here, what it means to how to treat mankind, to treat your neighbor. What rights do we have? And it's the fundamental, everything that we believe in our core values of the rights of each one of us to live a full, free life with equality, with dignity, access to health care, a good paying job, educating all of our children. Every child in this state needs a quality education, period. In the end, every kid here needs to be able to receive a quality education so that they have the opportunity. And what we're seeing is there is a concentrated attack by the other side to keep that from happening. They don't want people educated because then they have the mind to critically think. They have the mind to understand that their policies are wrong. So we have to stand up for these core values. And it takes strong campaigns at every level. Colin can't win this race by himself. You know, you can't win a statewide race by yourself. You have to have the best candidates. Democrats have to put the best bench they can on each and every race. And each and every one of those. And that way, we are as highly functioning team as we can be. And I think I'm that candidate. I think Cass is that candidate for 115. We have great candidates across the board. And if we can all get there, work together, not work in isolation, but work together, that is how we're going to come together and make a difference. And in our campaign, we have a home for everybody. If anyone wants to come and help us, we would love to have your help. We have to reach 850,000 people. Each of our House seats are 210,000 people. And, so it's an experience, but we need people, we're hiring. We have the resources to be very competitive. I've always been able, I'm very lucky, very blessed to have a lot of support. We always are strongly funded. We always can raise significant resources to run the strongest campaign possible. So if any of you all are interested in reaching out and working with our campaign, Sarah Slayman is my campaign manager right there. Please go find her. If you know people that want to work on a campaign, please contact us. We're hiring and we'd love to get people engaged. Anybody else have any other questions?
Any other questions? Alrighty, well,
Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Representative Johnson, for being here in the LULAC House this morning.
okay, our next speaker today is Cassandra Hernandez. She is an experienced trial lawyer, community volunteer, and committed Democrat who is running for State Representative House District 115 in the 2024 election cycle. Cassandra knows we need practical solutions to many challenges, from fully funding public schools, to stopping gun violence, to increase access to healthcare, ensuring a strong public safety, and addressing the fentanyl crisis. She also is committed to finding ways for more people to have access to economic opportunities and protecting homeowners from rising costs. After graduating from Garland's High School, Cassandra went to the University of Houston and the South Texas College of Law. Cassandra has been recognized as one of the D Magazine's 2023 Best Lawyers, 2023 Super Lawyer Rising Star. Let's give a welcome to Cassandra Hernandez, to the LULAC House. Cassandra,
Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you all so much for having me once again to come and speak before you. You know, one of the things that I really wanted to talk about, and in particular, I know that she already announced, but yes, I am running for the state race House District 115. She did, Julie already explained as far as the areas, but just in case you didn't catch, that's the Capel, Carrollton, a little bit of Irving, a little bit of Dallas is also in there as well, Farmers Branch, and Addison. And so, you know, I'm really excited to just have announced last week that I was running for this particular race. This is something that I've been getting ready for a little while now. And I really wanted to be able to have the opportunity to just kind of reintroduce myself to all of y'all who don't know me. I know a few folks who are here that I've worked with in the past, either through LULAC or Texas Organizing Project. And so just a little bit about me. I was actually born in the Panhandle. I was raised by my two amazing grandparents, Frank and Rosa, as well as my single mother at the time, Clara Beth. And whenever we moved here to North Texas when I was in middle school, I was able to gain my adopted father, Juan. And he actually practiced in personal injury. And he is actually the reason why I decided at a very young age that I wanted to become a lawyer. And the reason why was because his story is just as amazing as anybody else I've ever heard. He came here to the U.S., he was a dreamer, and he became a U.S. citizen through the U.S. Army. And he also happened to lose his father at a very young age and had to step up and be the person who headed up his family. He knew and understood how powerful it was to get a higher education and how that would literally set up his family following him. That's something that I've carried on to even now in the present time of why I fight so hard for public education. I actually just yesterday had the opportunity to be able to sit with some folks who work with the teacher lobby groups and talk about what are some of the things that I can do, how can I help whenever I become state rep. Because if it wasn't for the educators here in North Texas when I moved here, there's no way that I would have be standing here today and have excelled as I have today. I would have never became a lawyer. I would have never went to University of Houston and obtained a business degree. I wouldn't be a partner of my family firm, and I certainly wouldn't have been able to join all of these amazing organizations in North Texas and be able to have the opportunity to give back to my community if I never had the ability to get that higher education. And so that's one of my big priorities, is making sure that we take care of, we fully fund education, we take care of our retired teachers, and we also give opportunities to individuals who maybe higher education is not their calling. I think that's something that we really need to concentrate on, and I know that Dallas College is doing a really phenomenal job on that. I want to make sure that we continue to push that all over Texas, because we know that, just like Brett Johnson was saying, a lot of the things that happen here in Dallas are things that really propel the state. Dallas does such a phenomenal job, and of course there's always more ways that we can improve, but Dallas really does set the bar as far as what we can do across the state. And so the hope is that I will be able to get to Austin and be able to carry those ideas all over the state as well. More than anything, I wanted to talk about some of the Supreme Court decisions that just recently came out. I'm sure probably a lot of us who are present here today were probably in one way or another impacted by some of the decisions that just recently came out. Julie was talking a little bit about elections and as far as what the impact is. There's no more bigger proof than what the Supreme Court is putting out to show how important elections are. We are literally seeing a Supreme Court that at one point, and I say this as a lawyer, this pains me to say this, a Supreme Court that has become politicized. At one point, we felt no matter how or what institutions, depending on who it was that was in a majority of those areas, we always felt that the U.S. Supreme Court was one that was immune to that. We see that that is not the case anymore. We are no longer in a situation where we can just sit by and allow things to happen. we have to speak up, we have to get out, we have to engage our people, we have to engage our community. Texas, I'm sure everybody knows at this point, Texas, the biggest demographic here in Texas is our people. And we have to make sure that we turn out our community. And there are ways that we can do that. One, we find great candidates who are willing to get on the ballot and we put them on there. Because I will tell you, as somebody who's block walked for judicial campaigns, for state races, for congressional candidates, there is nothing that motivates a community that traditionally does not turn out as much, than seeing somebody who looks like them on the ballot. That is one way that we can achieve that. Another one is that we need to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and educating our community. There's a reason why here in the state of Texas, we do not see, in particular, our elections all the way up on the Texas level, making sure to inform our people on what the process is, what a different person in different leadership positions do for you, and how they touch what areas of their life. We have to be able to make sure that we fight for that, and if they're not going to do it, we need to do it. So there are great organizations like Texas Organizing Project and Somos Tejas that get out and engage the Black and brown communities, and we have to be part of that process. If we're not willing to get out and help them in volunteering, you can give to them. You can let other people know about it, encourage your children or your neighbors to be involved in it, and just show up and let people know that we've got to be better about that. Also, I encourage all of y'all to join our Democratic Party here in Dallas. I don't know about y'all, but I'm so excited about the change that has happened within our party.
Yeah.
With Cardall and now Jasmine leading our party, I have nothing but the highest respect for both of these individuals, and because I've seen firsthand how much it means to them to make sure that people turn out and they vote up and down the ballot. We got to make sure that we start all the way at the top and we got to go all the way down, because even the local elections are just as important as any of the other elections. We got to make sure we elect people who share our interests and our values, and we put them in positions of leadership, because those are going to be the individuals that continue to fight for us whenever we see these attacks come up on either the local, the state, or the national level. We need to be more proactive about reaching out to our elected officials and asking them where their stance is on stuff. We also need to make sure that we are holding them accountable. So when it comes time for re-election, we need to make sure that we remember what exactly did they do for us. We as a society need to be more proactive about what our people are doing for us. And so that is my mission of making sure that when I'm elected for House District 115, that I'm available not just for my constituents within the House District, yes, of course, first and foremost, but for all Texans. When I go to Austin, I'm not just fighting for people in 115, I'm fighting for Texans all across the state. And so I want to make sure that we continue to remember, no matter what, especially with what we're seeing right now. We're seeing attacks on communities all across the state. When there's attack on one of us, there's attack on all of us. We got to stand up for one another, and I hope that y'all will join me in those efforts.
Any questions?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I always ask questions and I apologize, but Julie touched about education and children. You did too. So I'm looking for a champion to help children who come from divorce and divided households against parent alienation. You champion that, and the question is this: we as adults go through a lot on a divorce, and we are grown up and we learn some skills, but children don't have those skills, and they suffer all day long at school, missing one parent or the other because of parent alienation. Now, House Bill 2503, which talks about custody and interference, was just revamped, and now there's enforcement. What can you do to help the corruption in courts that are giving away children and taking them from parents and then posting them and placing them in foster care only to die or to be permanently separated and adopted by a non-Hispanic parent. This is trafficking, legal trafficking by judges and courts. Can you help us with that?
Thank you so much. I appreciated whenever you asked that question the last meeting that we had. I think one of the main things that we really need to focus on and what you were talking about is the CPS system. I think that there is nothing more awful than what we're seeing and what has gone on in the CPS system here in this state. And it still has not been addressed. That's even with the judge telling the state that they need to fix it. That, first and foremost, we gotta make sure we work on that. But I am willing to sit down with anybody and everybody to find out what is the solution, what is the issues that we're having, and what is the solution to this. I don't have the answer to everything. I'm not standing here telling anybody that I have the answers to every question that will be asked of me. But what I will tell you as somebody who is a trial lawyer, who has always respected and understood that there are experts that know everything about that, and that I've relied on those folks to tell me and educate me on all of the issues so that way I can make an informed decision, I will absolutely do that with that issue.
987 children died in 2022 in the hands of CPS. Just so you know that number. Any of, Mr. Flores?
Thank you for your question.
I don't know if it's a question, but I just wanted to put something in the back of your head that should you win and get to Austin, the state of Texas, particularly the Commissioner of Education, has not been doing his job. Mike Morath, who used to be here in Dallas, and that is the fact that anybody that's about to turn 18 years of age should be registered to vote. Every school system in the state of Texas, the superintendent has a responsibility or delegate that authority to make sure that every high school is working to register every child that's turning 18. But they don't do it. My idea would be, and hopefully you may embrace this, is that they evaluate every school system and every school that will have somebody that's about to turn 18, that they be evaluated as the way they evaluate for everything else, including academics and what have you. And the reason that I say that is because there's about 5.5 to 6 million students in the public schools. So there would be a group of about 600 to 800,000 kids that are eligible to become voters, but there's forces, political forces, that would not like our community because now we constitute 52 to 54% of those 6 million students. So if we were to stay on top of Mike Morath and make them do it and evaluate every school that's not doing their job, I think we could see that this state would change automatically and quickly into a blue state.
Amen. Thank you so much for that question. I don't see him here, Eric Cedillo, but I am a huge advocate for what March to the Polls and the Student Voter Empowerment Coalition and LBEC does for our community. I think that there is a way that we can figure out, and yes, I know what their concern is. It's the same one that they keep trying to parrot, which is the indoctrination. We don't want them to hear about voting for Democrats or anything. We don't want to give them the opportunity to register because our younger generation gets it. They're more progressive. They're tired of what they're seeing out there. They're tired of seeing the attacks on communities. But I do believe that it's already the law. We need to enforce it. If we can at least agree that we get nonpartisan organizations like LVEC and SVEC and March to the Polls and other organizations, Somos Tejas as well, registers students or registers people as well, and so does Texas Organizing Project. If we can at least agree on, and even if it means creating organizations that are nonpartisan that go into the schools and make sure that these students are getting registered, let's do whatever we need to make sure that we're doing it. But you're 100% on point about it. There is a reason why they're not doing it. So of course there's going to be resistance on it.
For the record, LULAC initiated this project about 12 years ago in the Dallas public schools only, where we were able to register a significant amount of students. That has gone into a massive thing that Eric and David Marcus have picked up and have funded to take it on. But I think we need to stay on this because we can see great results right away. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the question.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Let's give a round of applause.
It's time to volunteer. Elections are about money and votes and walking and walking and walking and walking and knocking on doors. Okay, so thank you so much. A big round of applause for Cassandra. I also want to recognize here today with us Ernest Gonzalez, the U.S. prosecutor for the Eastern Federal District, with his wife Letty. Thank you so much, Ernest, for being with us this morning. Moving on, our next speaker is Jose Barrera. Jose, with over 10 years of service in LULAC, is called J.B. Barrera, became a community advocate in high school and now serves as the youngest state director in the history of California LULAC. Yes, guys, California is in the house. An inspired dreamer born in Michoacán, Mexico, J.B. graduated from the University of California, Davis, and obtained a bachelor's degree in political science and Spanish. Under Jose's tenure with LULAC, he has served with many advisory roles to prominent community leaders, including the state and federal legislatures. Bless your heart, Jose. You earned heaven. You know, the president of Cal State University, and of course, as a state director, he works with multinational corporations to increase Latino representation in corporate boards while ensuring that they properly serve the community, including companies like Starbucks, AT&T, and McDonald's. Let's give a welcome LULAC 102 applause to Mr. Jose Barrera, you know, with us here in the house today.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here, my LULAC sisters and brothers, in the heart of LULAC, which is Dallas, Texas as a whole. I've been taking a tour of all of Texas. Yesterday I was in San Antonio and I flew in at 4 in the morning just to make this event because I've been hearing day in and day out about how great the Chorizo and Menudo events happen to be, and President Garcia always does it. President Mr. Hector Flores, has always brought this up, and I just have to experience it firsthand. And so I'm really grateful to be here and just be able to talk to you a little bit about, what it means for me to be a LULAC member and why I have come here today to talk to all of you. I think my bio said something that I've been here for over 10 years. I was doing the math. It's been like 14 years since I joined LULAC in high school. I was a freshman in high school. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a dreamer. I was undocumented at that time. And for me, it just seemed like I heard someone on the radio talk about LULAC, and I said, that's an organization I want to belong to. So I called that person, started my own youth council, and I never looked back since. And I call myself a professional just also because I always want to know what's going on, right? I want to get involved and help out the community. So I spoke to my mentors, and I said, what can I do to help? And because of that, I was able to elevate to the roles that I am today. I got a position as a state director at the age of 26 in California. Now I'm 28, so I've been here in this role for 2 years. And it's been never in my wildest dream would I have imagined that I'd be in this position, talking to members of Congress, talking to state legislators. In my home state of California, we're constantly pushing for bills and advocating day in and day out to make sure that the right bills that impact our community are being passed. And these legislators call me and say, JB, listen man, we're going to try to push for this bill. Can we get less support behind it? And I say, tell me more. And then, after I read it and review it, we sign on to it, we advocate, we call other legislators, and we're able to get bills passed. That's how we were able to get ethnic studies passed in our local schools. So now every school has to have an ethnic study department in California, and so we can hear about our history. And that's just one little snippet of what we do in my home state. But really, I'm also here to learn about what's going on in LULAC across the country, because I am running for a role as a VP for the Far West, and I would love to get to know the community. And Dallas is where it's at. We have a former president. We have members of LULAC that have been here for years. And we want to be able to replicate that. And I want to be able to reproduce another one of these Chorizo and Menudo breakfasts back in my home state and do these across the country. I think is very beneficial. And one of my visions for LULAC, and I know I keep saying that I'm the youngest state director for California, but one of the things I'm so proud of is that we've been able to bring in new talented people into these organizations. We start with a mentorship program, and we start with having students become interns for us, where we get them plugged into policy, we get them to understand the legislative process, and from there they start their own councils, and they keep growing. I could see these kids in the future, 10, 20 years from now, being the state directors and growing the organization, and that's what it's about. This organization is full of mentors. It's full of people who really care about our community, and they just want to pay it forward. And so for that, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful for Mr. Hector Flores and for Dalma and Madam First Lady, who have invited me to speak to you today. And with that, I just want to close with say, la lucha sigue y que viva el LULAC. ¿Preguntas?
No, I just want to thank you. I do want to thank you, JB, for being a great leader and for supporting women issues. Because you didn't mention that you were part of the committee for the Women's National Committee and the conference that we had recently in DC. So thank you.
Gracias.
Well, welcome to Texas, Mr. Barrera. I'm Gracie Cortez, and I'm Deputy Director for the North Texas LULAC Youth, which numbers close to like 400, and we have 14 councils of young youth. And I just want to, you mentioned the importance of mentors, the sponsors of our youth, and all the support systems that we have in North Texas has greatly helped us. And I want to recognize two of the youth mentors that we have in the house, and it's from North Dallas High School. It's Ruby Chavez. Would you stand up, please? North Dallas High School, awesome. And our newest one, if you stand up, Lorena, she's the sponsor. Believe it or not, we have our very first Uplift Grant charter school. So we have LULAC youth in charter schools that want to give back to the community. And as Hector mentioned earlier, our youth councils are involved in registering their high school 18-year-olds. That's one of our main activities, registering at every one of our youth council high schools, the 18-year-olds. And they have continued on. Elida Martinez was one like yourself, and now she is Deputy Director for Young Adults in Texas. So congratulations and welcome to Texas, and we look forward to working and supporting you at the National Convention.
Muchas gracias. My heart goes out to the youth, and I'm so happy to hear that because I've heard it from President Garcia many times. The next president of the U.S. is a Latino or Latina that's probably sitting in this room, and I'm glad that we have those mentors here.
Thank you. Thank you, Jose. Give an applause to Jose Barrera, one of the young leaders of LULAC. And don't forget, we have to vote in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in August. So, with that,
July 31st to August 5th.
July 31st to August 5th. Okay, sounds good. Our next speaker is John H. Martinez, the CEO of the Regional Hispanic Contractors Association. John Martinez is a Dallas native, has contributed significantly to the community and minority business development since 1990. He and his wife, Maria Montoya, and their family reside in the neighborhood where John grew up. And of course, during his tenure at the Chamber of Commerce, John spearheaded establishment and financing his inaugural branch into with the financial guide office into Oak Cliff. John now holds the position of President and CEO at the Regional Hispanic Contractor Association, which is situated in Oak Cliff, southern sector. the heart of Dallas. I like that, Mr. Martinez. You need to keep this one. You know, and of course, under his leadership, the organization has seen unparalleled, and I mentioned that, unparalleled growth and accomplishment, including becoming the largest Hispanic contractor association nationwide. Nada más ni nada menos. Let's give a round of applause to our friend of many, many years. John, you and I have worked together many, many times. The Honorable John H. Martinez. Yes.
That makes me feel really special. But I will tell you that I'm just the spokesperson for the group of people that really got that done, right? Because what we fail to see, and when we tell people to go vote, and we tell people that every election is really important, is because we don't see what those decisions that those people make. Because we grew to be the largest, because we actually had a building and a headquarters, and we weren't going around pitching a tent from place to place, having to change an address and a phone number, that we actually had a place that we could call home, right? We were the only construction association besides the mainstream white organization that we could do that, right? And we still are. And the only reason we could do that was because Elba was on the city council, and she spearheaded that, and it wasn't easy. Everybody was against it, and everybody thought that the city council just gave us the building. No, they didn't. We almost had to pay twice for the building. They made us, it was a unique way of getting the building. We had to lease it, and then we had to buy it, right? But that was okay, because if that's the way we had to do it to get started, that's how we did it. But we only got it because of Elba's help. And then when she got to the county, and there was ARPA funds, right? Elba once again made sure that there were community organizations, not only Hispanic, but other organizations that got some of those funds. Because we work for nonprofits, but we're not nonprofits, we're not-for-profits. You know what that means, the difference between that? That means we still have to make a profit, right? But our efforts are not for a profit. It's to be a service to people, right? TXU still wants their full money. The IRS still wants their employee taxes, right? We will still go to jail if we mishandle money, right? But it was Elba and her team to make sure to say that we were able to get funding so that we could provide training. Because otherwise, I had to be out there with my little bowl, and our employees had to be out there, and instead of servicing, we're out there begging for money. And it was through Elba's effort and other elected officials like her that make sure that we can stop with the rice bowl and actually service. So I want to give Elba a round of applause. So I want to do a little pop quiz if you got this beforehand. And before I do that, I'm not pointing fingers, right? These are our brothers and sisters. And I was the oldest in my family, and so my mother never gave me an excuse if I said, hey, well, my little brother did that, or that's not my problem, or that isn't fair. When one kid and my mother, we had 6. If one got in trouble, we all got in trouble, right? And Olga was swift with her punishment. And so I just learned that we all do well, we all need to help to make sure we can do better, right? So don't take this as a pointing finger. Take this as, what could I have done to help them do better, right? So the first is, do you know who the 5 Hispanic city council members on the Dallas council, right? Yes. Do you know who they are, right? If you do, applause to you. Because one of the battles that I get when I even talk to the 5 councilmen is, well, so-and-so is not really Hispanic because their mother's white or their father's white or they're not, and I'm thinking, you know, you need 8 votes to get something passed. Why the hell are you dividing who's Hispanic, not, or whatever, who speaks English? You need 8 votes, right? So Councilman Atkins, who's African American, I just appointed you Hispanic because I need your vote, right? So don't quibble about who speaks Spanish, who's more Hispanic, whose mother's white, who's from. If you can vote and champion the Hispanic cause, you are my brother and sister, right? We got Randall Bryan here, the chairman of the Black Chamber of Commerce. He's my brother, he's here today. can he help me champion something? He now became my Hispanic brother, right? Think of getting to those votes, people, right? You know, they're trying to get the Mexican American Museum, right? Now, they're still trying to get the Smithsonian Museum in DC. They've been trying to do that since day one. I got this thing to say, well, when I was talking to somebody, they said, well, John, it's on a water table there in DC, right? Have you ever been to DC? There's 1 million buildings there. They're all heavy stone. And I was talking to some Hispanics. They said, well, part of the problem is that they're on a water table. And I said, well, I don't know. But a few hundred years ago, there was some Indians back there that built a whole damn city on a lake. Maybe we can find some of those that we can take over to DC and build it on a water table, right? I don't know, right? I'm not that smart. I'm not an engineer. You know, Chris is an architect from an Ivy League school. Surely we got some Hispanics that can build that on there. But now they're trying to build a Mexican American museum here. And as you know, there's a 2024 bond program. There's $1 billion, and they're trying to put that on there, right? Yeah. So you say it's $1 billion bond program, but 50% of that is going to necessary roads and things like that. So scratch 50%. So there's only 500 to 400 billion of that, and that has to go throughout the whole city. So not all of that's going to go on Hispanic things because we got to spread that. So it's only a little bit. So question number 2, each Dallas council member selects a 2024 Community Bond Task Force member. That's the main committee. There's a bunch of subs, but that's the main. I just told you there were 5 Hispanic ones. How many Hispanics sit on the 2024 Community Bond Task Force? Do y'all know that question, that answer? Give me a guess. There's only one. Only one. Now, we had 5 Hispanics. Each one got to select one. But only one of those Hispanics said, in all of Dallas, even though there's over 40%, and someone up here said we're the largest population, all those 4 of them said they couldn't find one Hispanic to sit there, right? Now I know Harvard grads, I know Princeton grads, Chris went to Ivy League school, but they couldn't find it, right? I don't know, right? I think Trump found some of those and put them on buses, but we couldn't find them. I'm not pointing fingers at them. What I'm saying is, what did we do? Did we call them and say, hey, I know 5 here, right? It's easy to point fingers, but my mother, Olga, didn't let me point fingers. She said, what did you do to help your brother or sister so they didn't get in trouble? What did you do to help them so that they didn't go do that, right? That's what I'm telling you to do. I'm not telling you to go point fingers at these ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, what are you doing so it doesn't happen next time? Are you getting a list together? Because there's a bunch of other committees. And then finally, Fair Park, which is the thing that they asked me to talk about. How many Hispanics are on the Fair Park First Board? Y'all know? There's 2. Fair Park is the only thing that if you're rich or poor, if you're old or young, everybody experiences the state fair. Everybody has that story that you've gone to and experienced the magic of the state fair. Everybody needs to be part of that magic. And there's a lot of construction going on there. There's a lot of Hispanics that are going to be part of renovating that. But are Hispanics going to be sharing and putting some of that wealth in their pocket, right? One of the things that I hate is when they say, oh, we love Jose. He works so hard. Oh, we love Jose. They love Jose, but they never want to see Jose in the office. They never want to see Jose making money in his pocket. They always want to see Jose out there working, right? Find out how you can get on these boards, because they love Jose working out in the field, right? But they don't want Jose working in the office. I represent a lot of construction firms. Google those construction firms and see who the leadership is. Now, when you do that, see what the leadership is and not the team. Because now what they're doing is, this is the team. What they do in the team is they get everybody, the janitor, the secretaries, and everybody, so they can show some color. But if you look at the leadership, there aren't any Hispanics because they love Jose, but you gotta keep Jose out there in the sun working, right? So on that one, the city council elects mayor pro tem and deputy mayor pro tem. Ever since we've had one Hispanic on the council, they have this thing where there's a Hispanic that's mayor pro tem and deputy mayor pro tem. In the history of the council, we have more Hispanics than we've ever had. I just told you we had 5. So tell me, who is the Hispanic mayor pro tem right now, or who is the Hispanic deputy mayor pro tem? Does anybody know the name? Nobody. But we got more Hispanics on city council than we've ever had in history. Now mind you, when we had 1 or we only had 2, we would have a Hispanic who's a deputy mayor pro tem or mayor pro tem. We got 5 now, right? So before you start clapping that we're the largest population in Texas, you really got to ask yourself, what does that mean? What does that mean, right? Because I'm not sure, as a lifelong citizen of Dallas, Texas, and I was so excited that we had 5 Hispanic council members, if I'm really excited now, because I was getting more when I had 2, right? So now my job is not to point the fingers at those 5. My job is to make sure, what can I do to help my brothers and sisters to make sure they're empowered and strong enough. So I tell you now, don't point the fingers at them. We don't need to knock down our brothers and sisters. What we need to do is make sure we empower them and introduce them to other strong ones to make sure that they can put us on boards and committees and make decisions and feel empowered, right? When I called them, and I did call them, by the way, they told me 2 things. You don't know who called, right? And 2, we couldn't find somebody. Don't let that be the excuse next time. Call them and let them find. So that's the end of our quiz. Now I'm going to talk about what Hector really wanted me to talk about. And then I'll get off. Fair Park, a lot of projects out there. Fair Park is ours. That's one of the projects that's really going to be ours. Why is construction important? Because that's where the Raza works. The Raza's out there building. I don't care where you go in construction. I'm going to give you a statistic. In the United States, 80% of drywallers, 80% in the whole country are Hispanic. So I don't know if you ever read that Trump and all these other far-right Republicans want to send us back. But when you scratch at their companies, they're all employing Hispanics, right? They want to send your Hispanics back, the people you hire, but don't send the ones they hire. Because if you send all the drywallers back, do you know how much drywall is going to cost, right? That's what they fear, right? They don't want those drywallers to put money in their pocket. They want to stay working out there. And that's the same way at Fair Park. We need people on those boards. We need them to make sure. And this is the ugly thing about construction. Because Hispanics are for sure doing construction, but they keep us on the high risk, low profit side of the house. So if you look at the bids that are submitted, we're never on the front end where our logo's on there. We're never on the easy money on the high profit side. Because they know at the end, when they measure the percentage of participation, the percentage is going to look good for Hispanics. Because we're on the hard end. We're on the concrete, the cheap work, the one that wears your body out by the time you're 35. We're going to be on that end. So the percentage is going to look good. It's the same question that I have a constant battle with Dr. Cerise. Because you look at the employment, it looks really good, right? But we're not the executives, we're not the doctors, we're the janitors, we're the cleanup people, right? So it looks good. Oh, John, we hire a lot of Hispanics, but I want to see Hispanic managers and executives. It's the same way in construction. I want to see Hispanics where we're creating wealth, and we're not in just the hard, low profit, high risk. So when you look at the percentage for construction and Fair Park and everything else, ask your question, are we in the part where we're creating and generating wealth? Or are we just in the part where Jose's out there working and high risk, low profit? Because that's what we are. We're in the highly volatile part. So when you look at that percentage, we got to start asking. Fair Park has a lot of stuff coming out, and then when we get in, we're also scrutinized the most, right? We work hard to get in. Sometimes they take the contract away from us. They find us on change orders. So ask those questions, people. But there's a lot of projects coming out of Fair Park. The next one that is I've always got killed on the convention center. The convention center is one of the most highly political. On August 9th, they're deciding the first part of the convention center. There's 7 projects overall, and everybody wants to be part of that. Highly, highly political. I mean, I just even can't tell you. And somehow I got the reputation that I was trying to defeat the team that's been selected, right? So I've gotten calls, I've been cussed out. I will tell you on this cuss out, I was so happy. Now, I've gotten cussed out plenty of times, but I was so happy because I actually got a voice note that they apologized for cussing me out. Usually they cuss me out, I don't get an apology, right? So I've been saving that voicemail when somebody else cusses me out. I listened to that voicemail and I felt, pretty good. I'm getting apologized now for being cussed out. But I only asked one question. One question that I asked. The city says there should be 38% inclusion. And I said, because you can't ask right now who the companies are and how much inclusion, right? Because they're in negotiations, it's the cone of silence. And I just asked one question. And that question is, when it's all said and done, would you be proud of the Hispanic companies you chose and of the overall percentage? And for that, I got cussed out. They called the city and said I was strong-arming them, right? And then I had the companies saying that I was against the team. I just asked one question. At the end of the day, would you be proud of the companies that you chose that are Hispanic and of the participation? I didn't say which companies, I didn't say how many, I just asked that one little question at the end of the day, right? But I know why they do that, because they don't want you to ask. What they want Hispanics to do is, go in the background, and when we need you to work out in the sun, we will stay out, right? And let everybody else collect the money, right? That's what they want. Because if you look at the projects, Parkland, Dr. Sharice, right? Who's the majority of the patients at Parkland? Latinos. They built a new clinic. Hispanics were not on the front end, right? It was a non-Hispanic they partnered on the project. That same company just won the bid for UT Southwestern, the Children's Project. If you read the numbers on the largest population of Hispanic, the biggest group is 4-year-olds. So if UT Southwestern has a $1 billion project to build the new children's, and 4-year-olds, Hispanic is the largest population, and 4-year-olds is the biggest group of that, who do you think is going to use the children's hospital here? But again, that same company chose a non-Hispanic company to partner with, right? Again, I asked, and I'm like the mean guy of being accused of being the mafia. Hell, if I was the mafia, I wouldn't have to ask. We would already be there, right? Did you ever hear the mafia asking? No, they didn't. They just were there, right? So some of them, I'm gonna send them the DVD for The Godfather, right? I never saw him cuss out The Godfather, so definitely I'm not the mafia, right? But again, on the backs of Hispanics, the second project, same company. The deck park in Oak Cliff, same company, again. We didn't watch who was heading the foundation. We didn't watch who was on the board. That same company got selected again. Again, we didn't have a Hispanic as a joint venture partner, right? What's the trend, people? The trend is we don't have anybody speaking up for us. Elected officials like Elba Garcia, who speaks up and takes a risk and gets threatened, because they do. I've seen Elba get screamed at, and I'm sure she gets cussed out way more than us. But we need those people. I hope they apologize to you, right? But I would tell you, we need those. And in order for them to take that risk, they need you behind them, right? So I tell you this, when I met with those companies, they said, John, why would I change? I won 3 big projects by not partnering with Hispanics. I would be a fool if I changed the pattern now. This is a winning streak for me. And they just submitted for the Trinity Conservancy Park. And I have to say, you're right. If you won 3, what fool am I to come and tell you, change? You won 3, right? unless we get there and say, hey, stop. You gotta stop, right? Everybody tells me, go attack the construction company. Nope. Who do you go after? Who should we go talk to? The owners, which in this case are the elected officials. Who owns the convention center? The city, right? Who owns UT Southwestern? The state, right? Those are the kind of things where we need your help. If we don't empower them to ask. So in commercial construction, if you have 20,000 extra windows and extra workers, guess what, guys? They don't put them up there. They only do what the owner says. If the owner says we need Hispanic inclusion, that's what those companies do. The companies don't do any more or any less than the owner. So I'm going to leave you with this. When you meet these elected officials, don't point fingers. Empower them and say, as a Hispanic citizen in this area, I need you to speak for us, right? Do not fall into the trap that you're going to fight your black brother and sister, right? Do not fall in that trap, because that's the best discussion they want you to do. They barely get a percentage, and they want you to fight that one. DISD last year, the last bond program, 50% went